my gosh, my first sit down YouTube, guys. I used to watch YouTube a lot and I can't believe it's me in front of the camera. Hi friends. So if you're coming from my Instagram, I want to say thank you because the past 2-3 months of making content has been so much fun and you guys just keep me going. And I posted a story on my Instagram the other day and I was asking what you guys wanted to see. I had been debating between making a video on lessons I learned in 2024 and talking about why I moved to Gambia. Truth be told, the majority of you wanted to see a video on why I left the US. And I will make that at some point. It's just not gonna be today. The reason for that being that there's so much to talk about in that video and I want to give it the right attention and notes and like preparedness going into it, and I didn't feel fully prepared going into it. I will make a video on why I left the US and moved to Gambia, but it's going to be later down the line. For today, I want to talk about 2024. We are a quarter into the new year and I've had ample time to kind of reminisce and reflect on my year, and truth be told, 2024 was probably one of the most monumental years in my life. I say it was monumental because it was one of the happiest years of my life. I feel like 2024 was the year that I started to see the future of who I was becoming and like see the woman that I was stepping into, and just being so proud of that woman. I have just learned so much, and if you were to ask my friends, like, you know, how would your friends describe you? My friends would describe me as the one they go to for advice, and I feel like I often give great advice, so I'm hopeful that this video today will impart some of the wisdom that I've gathered over the past year of my life. So let's get started. The first thing I learned in 2024, which mind you, in 2024 I was 22, turning 23 at the end of the year. So this was all in my 22nd year of life. And honestly, it's no coincidence that the happiest year of my life was also the year that I started dating my current man, like my current boyfriend. Let me tell you, free game, this is not a part of the list, but who you decide to be with is very important, okay? They are going to make or break you, so don't take that decision very lightly. Just in a year of being with him, he is so wise and has given me so much wisdom. And when we first started dating, he had a bone to pick with me because oftentimes I would say I would do something and then wouldn't do it, or I would utter words and not really back it up. So one of the biggest lessons I learned last year was the importance of being a woman of your word. I feel like I kind of grew up in a family where things were kind of just optional, you know? Like if we said we were gonna do something, it was optional. You know, if I was gonna wake up, it was optional to hit snooze or to actually wake up, you know? Like I feel like things were kind of lax, and then as I grew up, I was realizing that there would be often times where I would like tell a friend like, hey, you know, like tomorrow let's go out and have lunch, and we'd be like, okay, and then like just no follow-up. Like I would dead have friends that I would be like, hey, yeah, like I can pick this up for you tomorrow, you know, or da 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 da. And then tomorrow would come and I'm like, like I don't want to get out of my bed, or I don't want to actually put in the effort to do what I said I was going to do. For someone like me, that was hard to deal with because there are two things that I value a lot in this world and like for myself, and that is respect and that is integrity. So I was finding that a lot of times I wasn't following up with stuff I said I would do, and it was starting to like kind of disrupt my value system. Like there was a moment of dissonance that I had where I was like, wait, like I want people to respect me and I want people to take me seriously, but when I say I'm going to do something, I don't always do it. What it makes you realize is that you really have to think before you speak. So hand in hand with like being a woman of my word was also being very conscious of what I was saying or what I was agreeing to or what I was promising, and thinking in my mind, okay, am I actually able to deliver this before I say I will? So I'm the type of person where sometimes it's like word vomit. Like sometimes I'll just talk and talk and talk and I don't really think before I speak. But when you decide to be a woman of your word, you have to think before you speak, because how I see it is when it's just a thought in your mind, it hasn't actualized. But once you say it and you put it out there, you got to commit to that. not just for other people, but for yourself too. I feel like the reason I started with this one lesson was because this one lesson was kind of the thread of my year. Because if you're able to keep your word to others and to yourself, you become far more disciplined and you become a lot more confident in who you are, because you can trust yourself. You know that if you say you're going to do something, you do it. I think that the woman that I want to become is someone that is a woman of their word. That's something that I take very seriously. And I think when you're a woman of your word, you're respectable. And I think that you are thoughtful because you're actually thinking about what is coming out of your mouth. So that was a really big one for me. And it, like I said, it helped not just with other people, but with myself. So that actually brings me to my second point, which is just a general acknowledgement of the importance of health and fitness in your early 20s. If you're coming from my Instagram, you probably have heard me yap about this before, but you need to start caring about your health and fitness in your early 20s, because you're in the prime of your health now, but baby, it's only gonna decrease as you age. Just to give you like a little background of my like fitness journey, when I was younger, like I don't know if you guys remember when we were all like in our preteens and like the thigh gap was a thing that everyone wanted, which to me is so ugly now, but the thigh gap was like the sign that you were so cute and skinny and snatched. And I really wanted a thigh gap. So I remember when I was younger, like I used to do like ballet workouts in my home and like just wanted to lean out, but I was never a lean person. I always had a little meat on my bones. And it started at that age of just having body dysmorphia and like constantly having like social pressures like telling me what I need to look like and what my body type needs to look like. And I would go through this, like, I don't know if you guys remember Chloe Ting, like her ab workouts. I would do Chloe Ting ab workouts. I would do like workouts for a thigh gap. And I would kind of do them for like a week or two at a time and then stop. And that kind of just became the rhythm that I had, going from my preteens into teenage years, even into early adulthood, where I was like, I would start working out for like a week or two and then it would just fall off. This year has been my most consistent in the gym and in fitness. And I think it's because I changed my why. So stick with me because this does connect to the first point that I brought up. So a lot of my why at the time, like my reasoning for getting into fitness at that time, was because I wanted to look good, and that alone. This year, the reason I started working out was because I wanted to be a woman of my word, and this was going to be the area that I was going to start practicing discipline. That's when I really start seeing like changes, like not just in my body, but just in my consistency. Like I think you would in anything in life, truth be told, you have to have purpose behind it, and the purpose needs to go beyond the surface level. And previously my purpose was very surface level. It was solely based in aesthetics. And then now it was on a deeper level where it was like I was doing something because it aligned or had to do with my value system and my identity. So I was like, okay, I need to get this together. So when I said I would go to the gym, best believe I was at the gym. Okay. If I said I was going to go, I started just walking. Like I was like, let me just get into the flow of things. I would do like, try to shoot for like 8 to 10K steps a day. And then I started working out, and now I'm very consistent in the gym. And let me tell you something, because this is the first time that I've been very consistent in the gym, it also is the first time that like the novelty of how powerful the gym is has like come over me, because I'm like, yo, one, it did help with my confidence. Like my body I was never a big girl or overly skinny. Like I've always kind of been right in the average. But like my clothes started feeling and fitting differently. Like I feel like when I would wear tops and stuff, like there wouldn't be so much fat like hanging out, and like, and it just gave me body confidence, but it also gave me like confidence in myself, because like I said previously, if I said I was going to do something, I actually did it. And the more you exercise that muscle of like keeping promises to yourself, I really do find that you develop a second layer of confidence that comes over you. And that was the case for me. It kind of makes you feel like, okay, well, if for a year I've been saying I'm going to work out and I actually backed it up with working out, it makes me think like, well, what else could I do? What else is there that I want to put my mind to that I haven't, or what else is there that I say I want to do and will actually do? Like it gives you a bit of a confidence boost. Like if I genuinely feel like if I wasn't going to the gym and completing something that I said I was going to do, I don't even think I would be making content, because it gave me so much confidence that like I could see the gym through, so I can see anything through. So besides body confidence and besides, self-confidence and identity confidence, the other thing is that when you're in your early 20s, don't let anybody fool you, okay? This is a world of perception, right? How you look is going to matter, and it is going to impact how people perceive you. And when you're in your early 20s, it would behoove you to look good. As a woman, it is important to look good and to keep up. As a man too, truth be told, but as anyone that cares about themselves, it's important for you to, exercise self-care in this way. It's a form of saying, like, look, I care about myself enough to do something hard for myself. You know what I mean? Like, if you're dating someone and you're like, wow, I love them so much that I would drive an hour to pick up whatever their favorite food is, are you gonna put in that same energy for yourself? Do you love yourself enough to do something hard for yourself too? I think the gym also even showed me just like resilience and mental fortitude and patience, because a lot of times you'll get into the gym and you'll think like, oh, like I haven't seen any results yet, like I should just throw in the towel now, but that's not the case. Like, actually you should see it through. There's this quote that a coach that I follow posted, and it was like, sometimes when I think about doing something hard or consistency, or I struggle with consistency, I think about this guy, or I don't know what I would call this profession, but some dude chipping away at a rock, right? And they're trying to break the rock. And, they might chip away at it 100 times, 100 times, 100 times. And then finally on the 101st blow, the rock finally splits, which is what he wants, right? The rock finally splits. But you have to think that it's not the 101st blow that did it. It's the 100 hits to the rock prior to that 101st blow that actually made the rock split in half. Same with the gym, same with anything in life. It's never going to be an instant success. And I understand that we live in a generation where instant gratification is all we know. But, things take time, and you have to be willing to put in the time, and you have to be willing to exercise that patience and that resilience. And I think that's something that the gym really taught me. So me and the gym are like this. I'm in it for the long haul. I am not in it for like a quick, I want to look cute for a wedding, or I want to look cute for my birthday. No, we're in it for a long period of time. Another reason that it's important in general is because, your health. Like, this is why I get upset, because I'm like, do you not care? You don't care about your health? Come on. You deserve better than that for yourself. You deserve better than that. The third lesson that I learned in 2024 is that when you look good, you feel good, and it's important as a woman to stay polished and, upkeep yourself. So it's technically connected to health and fitness, but I really want to talk particularly about like clothes and styling and how you present yourself when you leave your house. I kind of was the type of person where I was a bit lazy with getting ready. I've always loved clothes and like looking cute and stuff, but I've always liked comfort more, and I've always liked convenience a little bit more. So there would be times where like I would be going somewhere, and like I would kind of put in like maybe 70% effort into getting ready. But this year I really tried to start practicing putting in 100%. So there's a few things I learned like in this category. The first thing is that there is a lot of importance in like just being polished and fully put together. Like when you're getting ready, don't go 80%, go the whole 100%. So I'm talking very little things like ironing your clothes. Iron your clothes. If you're too lazy to iron, buy a steamer and steam your clothes. If you're too lazy to do that, throw it in the dryer, put it on wrinkle free, and just get the kinks and the wrinkles out of your clothes before you step out, please. Please, I hate seeing women with clothes that are not cleaned, or like you didn't even use like a lint roller or anything like that. Like those final touches take you from being like, oh, she's cute, to, oh, she's really elegant and really polished. So don't neglect those things. Another like fashion hack that I love is that I use fashion tape. I have some around here. Let me go find it. Okay, so I use fashion tape. You can get this at CVS, you can get it at Amazon, I don't care where, but it's basically double-sided fashion tape. And like sometimes you're wearing clothes and maybe something is like hanging in a way that you don't like, or let's say like I have a top, like maybe not this because of the material, but like let's say I have a top and I want it to stay in place right here. Like I feel like as a woman, when you go out, you should not be constantly like adjusting your clothes. Like it should be fitting you well, and we don't all have money to tailor our clothes to fit. But you could at least use something like fashion tape. If you have the money, go get your clothes tailored. But if you don't, use something like fashion tape. And basically what I would do is like take a strip of this. I would literally take a strip, tear it off so it's double-sided, and then I would place this right here, and this would go here, right? And this will not move the whole night. It doesn't matter how much my arms move and stuff, this will not move. Or like this is like slightly a bit too big, I would maybe fashion tape right here so it sticks to my body, okay? That's a really big one that I learned. I've been doing it for the past 2 years, but you guys need to know about this, because clothes, you shouldn't be like, you know, playing with your clothes while you're out and stuff. Like as a lady, you should enter a room and you look good. I will also say that the older I get, the more I cover up. Like a little skin is cute, and I'm young, you know, I'm gonna show off a little something, but I don't really wear like skimpy clothes anymore. Like, it's just not very becoming of a lady. It's not. It's like, I don't know, I want to be, like I said, it's a world of perception, and I don't want to be perceived as like a fun girl. I want to be perceived as a lady and a woman, so I will dress accordingly, you know? Overall, when it comes to just being polished and being that woman that you want to step into, you have to start actualizing her. You have to start practicing her. You have to dress like she would dress. All right, the fourth lesson I learned in 2024 is probably that your relationship with God is going to be paramount in your life and the most important thing. I had an interesting relationship with God because when I was younger in Gambia, like, you know, they kind of shove religion in your face. And then when I moved to the US, I had my rebellious phase where I was like, who is God? What is God? What is this book? You know, who wrote this book? You know? And then I found my relationship with God on my own, which I think is the best because, you know, it's a personal relationship. It's not one that is fabricated or manufactured in a church or in an institution. It's just you and the big homie, you know? This year has been one of the happiest of my life because I feel the closest that I've ever been to God, and I look forward and I yearn to get closer and closer and closer to God, because the wisdom and the guidance and the confidence that I get from having a relationship with the Lord is, it makes me feel like I can do anything. How I see it, you know, life is hard, and it's only gonna get harder. I remember one time my brother, I had told him, I was like, you know, I have these big decisions to make. Around the time I was deciding if I was going to move to Gambia or not, I was like, I have these big decisions to make: love, career, life, where you're going to live, all this stuff. And he was like, you know, I hate to break it to you, but, you know, you need to lean into this discomfort because it's only going to get harder. The decisions you make are only going to get harder, and they're only going to impact more people. So when I started leaning on God through it all, it's like, I had a guide. I have the Bible or the Quran as this moral compass and this moral guide, you know, so that you never forget God in everything that you do, because there is right or wrong, and there is what feels good and what feels bad. And the closer that you are to the source and internally, like spiritually, I feel like the better your decision making is, you know. Like I said, life is just going to get harder, you know, but if you have a guide like God, you know, life becomes a lot easier. I would say as well that the reason this was so big for me this year was because, you know, when you are getting out of college and you're going into adulthood, and like, there's just a lot of heavy stuff that are constantly on your mind. You know, what's your purpose? Who are you going to be in this world? Who are you going to marry in this world? Like, there's just so much to think about. And I will say that this year I was able to really hone in on my relationship with God. And because of it, I do not worry. I rarely worry. Like, I very seldom worry about the future because I am so confident in God's plan for me that what does anxiety serve me? Absolutely nothing. You know, how I see it, my life is going to go how it's going to go. I genuinely, I've submitted all control to that. I've let go of what I want. I've let go of all of that. I just ask that God's will be done. And there's so much peace in that, y'all. If you're able to get to that point where it's like, it don't matter what you want, really, how I see it, because your life, my life is already written, is how I look at it. So what am I to worry about something that I cannot control? I trust in God's plan, and it's like when I tell you it's something even as small as like being in traffic, like things just don't bother me. Like I'll be in traffic and I'm like, there will be a second where I'm like, oh, like this is so slow, like I'm losing patience, whatever. And then, or like I'll take a wrong turn, whatever the case may be. And then I'll realize like, actually I'm right where I'm meant to be. So it's really all good. Like if God wanted me over there on that side of the road, he would have put me on there on that side of the road. And it's that simple. I feel like trusting in God's plan, trusting in God's foresight. God sees things that you do not see. Even when something doesn't go my way, how I see it is it did go my way. If it was meant for me, I would have had it. You know what I mean? If it wasn't meant for me, then it did go my way because my way is the truth. Like, how do I explain this? Like, if I really wanted, a toy bike, let's say I really wanted a toy bike and I didn't get that toy bike. So I'm like, oh no, like this didn't go the way I wanted. And then like 2 years later, let's say I got a toy motorbike. I got something even bigger. It's like actually in the moment it might seem like it didn't go my way because I didn't get my bike, but I got something better. So it did go my way. That was a terrible analogy, but hopefully you know what I mean. There's also a quote that comes on my timeline every once in a while. It's Kerry Washington, and she's doing some interview. And she's like, how she approaches life is that, like, let's say you want to catch a bus. Maybe you guys have heard of this. But she's like, maybe you want to catch a bus, right? So you pray to God to catch this bus. And then, you walk kind of lax to the bus, right? So you don't make the bus. Or let's say you run and you bust your butt to get to the bus, but you didn't pray to God, right? So you don't catch the bus. How I like to see it is if I bust my butt to get the bus and I pray to God to catch the bus, if I don't make that bus, it was not my bus, So it's like I kind of put my all into something and I pray to God, and if it's not meant to be, it was never mine in the first place. And I'm very much at peace with that. It's framed the way I look at everything in this life, where it's really all just about perspective. I never consider anything a loss because I think God has foresight that I don't. So if something wasn't for me, it wasn't for me. The last thing I want to talk about that I learned this year is to really trust your gut. And I feel like it kind of connects to what we just talked about, because I do honestly think that your gut is like the Holy Spirit in you. Like, I think it's God and the angels tapping you like, don't do that. Or yes, do that. Like, I really feel like it's like a spiritual guide. Like your gut and your intuition, we're all one and we're all connected to the source, how I see it. So your gut, like, I'm learning at least to trust my gut more and more. And I mean about everything, about that person in your life that you're unsure about, about whether or not to go to that function that you kind of feel kind of anxious in your tummy about going, like it just could be anything about a car you're about to get into. Literally, like, I want to say like 2 months ago, I was getting into a taxi leaving the village in Gambia. And I got in and like something in my stomach was like, this guy, like, I don't know if I trust this taxi driver, but I really wanted to go home. So I was like, I don't know if I trust this guy. Like I was just feeling uneasy. And we're just like pulling out of the village and he hits a car. Like he rear-ended somebody. And I was like, I fucking knew it. And I literally said that I knew it. And I left the car. I just hopped out because I was like, I knew something was up with you. Like, I don't know. So I wish in that moment that I had just trusted my gut, because it could have been worse. Like, I could have gotten in a car accident. You never know. But if there's, it's like, I think the lesson that I learned is not to trust your gut. To trust your gut. Your whole life, people have told you to rely on your intuition to guide you. But it's figuring out the difference between your gut and anxiety. Like, that's the difference. And I will say, like, anxiety is very short-lived. Like, if you have anxiety, it's very short-lived. All usually comes from a place of, like, insecurity. Your gut is like a punch in the gut. Like, you feel it on a deeper level. It has nothing to do with your insecurity or anything. It's literally just that you feel weary of is this still here? Oh, that you feel weary of a person or an event you're going to or a car you're about to get into. Like, trust that stuff. It's better safe than sorry. How I see it, if something doesn't feel right, it probably isn't. Like, when I tell you, even like ex-boyfriends that I've had, like, you know You know when something's right and you know when something's wrong, okay? So just lean into that, honey. Just lean into it and let God guide you, and don't be so selfish to not listen. Sorry, not selfish, but don't be so stupid to not listen when there are signs in your face and, like, you know, your gut is telling you like this does not feel right. You have to trust that. All right, guys, that was a fun yapping session. I would like to do that again, actually. That was a lot of fun. Sometimes I feel like I have a lot more wisdom than I actually do, but I think that it's all these things that I mentioned are stuff that I'm still learning myself, truth be told. And there are things that are worth it to really work on. I think self-development just in general, and like finding true alignment in yourself is so important, especially at years like this where you're kind of just going into adulthood and figuring stuff out. Being very intentional with your life is important, and that's something that I learned a lot last year. It was just in general intentionality. So I hope you guys enjoyed that, because I had a great time. Again, if you're coming from my Instagram, I love you so much, and I'm so grateful to you guys, because, you know, for years I thought about making content and I didn't think the time was right, and this year I felt like God was telling me the time was right. But content isn't always easy. You don't always feel like showing up, but you know, I have the discipline, that's in check, but the motivation is not always there. But you guys really motivate me a lot. So thank you to my Instagram family and my TikTok family. How could I forget? I love you guys so much. If you're here with me on YouTube now, thank you for tuning in, just because I feel like this is going to give us an opportunity to get a little more intimate and get to know each other on a deeper level. So, you know, please be in my comments. I love to respond to comments and, you know, engage in dialogue with you guys. And I love the community that we're building. So just want to say a very humble thank you to all of the support, every like, share, comment, DM that you've ever given me. You know, really has reaffirmed me in my journey as a content creator, in my decision to move to Gambia. Just, I've gotten a lot of validation from you guys, and that means a lot. So thank you. Like I said, I will make a video on why I left the US at some point and why I moved to Gambia. So stay tuned for that as well. All right, guys, I hope you have a happy and blessed day.